I am very much honored and I had privilege of moderating this fireside chat. So first of all, thank you Andrew so much for the insightful talk and all the demo and everything. And also I'd like to thank Alice, Professor Alice. So she should be moderating, not the one of the panels. So she's so great, and she's the as the announcer told everyone, she will be the general chair of NURICS 2023. So she's the one in AI in Korea. So thanks for coming. And thank you, Ian. Actually, Ian has been spending a whole 2 days of schedule with Andrew for his Korean trip, and he was the one who moderated everything. So if it wasn't for Ian, this whole event couldn't happen. So thank you so much. So the fireside chat is gonna go like this. So I represent the AI industry in AI startup, and Alice represents the academic area, and Ian will represent the VC area. So we'll shoot question to you, and Andrew will answer it back. And after some fireside chat, we're gonna hand over our mics to floor and get some questions from the audience. All right. Without further ado, Andrew, do you want to make any remarks or any thoughts?
You know, every time I show up anywhere, Michael always says, Andrew, do you have any opening remarks?
This is fifth time, right?
It is good to be here and looking forward to the conversation. And I feel like, frankly, I feel like it's really nice to be here with a panel. I'm actually eager to hear what Ian and Alice and Michael think about AI in Korea as well.
Right, thank you. Alice, do you want to give some remarks and maybe introduce yourself?
Sure. So as I was introduced, I'm at KAIST. I work on language most of the time. I am very interested in Korean language models as well as language models of low or less resource languages, so languages other than English. And I'm also very much interested in how we are different culturally, historically, geographically, and what that means in terms of trying to develop these AI technologies for everybody around the world.
All right. Now, Ian, so it is pretty awkward to say because Ian spent whole few days with Andrew, and I'm asking Ian to ask questions to Andrew. So, how was your trip in Korea, and what do you think about this conversation?
I mean, it's been really fun. I really didn't expect the Koreans have this much interest in AI, and wherever Andrew goes, it was crazy. So a lot of selfies, a lot of good memories, and yeah, we had a really great time. And I just want to say thank you to SelectStar to organize this event, and Jigan Silicon Valley. They helped us organize the entire event for Andrew, so I'm really grateful for that.
And NIPA.
And NIPA, thank you.
All right, without further ado, Alice, do you want to start your first question and maybe conversation?
Sure. How much time do we have in total?
Actually, we were supposed to end this 15 minutes later. I think.
Okay.
Do you have more time? Andrew, is it okay? If you go more time? Yeah, 15 minutes of fireside chat doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
All right, that's it.
Okay, well, so I have a bunch of questions, but because I am I'm supposed to represent academia, I'm going to ask you about education, right? So you showed how ChatGPT can be used in a lot of these applications, but we can talk about education, right? And as we know, your lecture or your talk today was great, and you're an excellent and outstanding educator, but you have one problem, which is that there's only one of you, right? So do you think that ChatGPT can replicate your education, how you educate? And your lectures are so popular in Korea, right? So, but one thing that Sam Altman was saying, with ChatGPT, we can actually have personalized education, right? So I want my Enduring lecturer telling me how to do my homework, whatever. Do you think that's possible? And if not, what are the obstacles, and how do we move forward to actually really innovate education?
I think in the short term, some exciting applications I do think that there is a path to putting a personalized tutor in every child's pocket in their cell phone. Some things I've seen already that I think are exciting. Coursera has launched something called Coursera Coach, which you can go and take a class and ask questions about it. And if you try it out, I think it's actually pretty good. If you ask it certain questions, you can get it to hallucinate if you try. So it's not perfect, but when I've gone through some Coursera courses and asked it questions, it actually is pretty good, I thought, at giving feedback right away. And Khan, Khan Academy also has launched Khan Ego, that I think is a very interesting product. I found that today, if a student needs help from a teaching assistant and wants feedback, they can post in an online forum and maybe a day or two later to get an answer. It's actually not bad. But with a well-designed chatbot, the fact that we can start to increasingly give students personalized and even very rapid feedback, and I think that's very exciting. But there's one caveat. Even though Coursera Coach and Khan are taking us one step toward personalized coaching, personalized education, I think there's still a lot more to come in education. I'm seeing prototypes, frankly, not working that well yet, where people are trying to automatically put together courses. Most of them, they don't feel that good yet, but it feels to me that there's a few more transformations in education that is still yet to come. And then, I don't want to go on for too long, but there's one other transformation of education that I'm excited about, which is, I think with the recent developments in generative AI, I think there's now an argument to be made that was not true a year ago, that I would love to see every student learn to code at least a little bit, because in today's society, everyone has data. A large company has data, a small company has data. A student in school doing a biology experiment, they have data. And with modern AI tools, it's become easier than ever before to get your own custom AI system to work. And so for the individual, it's now very empowering to learn just a little bit how to code, to process your own data. And also at a societal level, AI is such an important part of society that in democracies, having everyone understand AI better means that we can together figure out better how to move forward as a society with the rise of AI.
Cool. Any follow-up questions or?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right that we have like these baby steps towards personalized tutor, but my original question, can we make Andrew Ng level educator? I think, as you said, we have a long way to go there, and it's probably not a very easy, there's not going to be an easy solution to that.
Yeah, someday, I hope every child will have a tutor that's way better than me. I see a lot of flaws in my own teaching, so I really hope every child deserves someone way better than me someday.
There's too much of fandom inside of you. Right. Next, I'd like to pass to Ian, and do you like to shoot any questions?
Yeah, I mean, I think the question I had was, there's been a lot of summers, AI summers, multiple times. I don't think neural network is something new that just popped up 2022 and having a moment. The AI has been around for a long time. And the investors are always curious about, is this another fad that we're having? Is this another AI summer that's going to be followed by an AI winter? So do you think this time is different? Or if you think it's different, why is it different this time?
Yeah, let me give my perspective, and then Ian, as an investor, you studied this extensively, maybe ask you what you think as well. So I feel like a lot of industries, sometimes they're overhyped, then the disappointment leads to winter. But there are industries that go through winter, then eternal spring. And I do think that we have reached, I think, what looks like an eternal spring era for AI. And the reason is, it's creating so much value. The fundamental economics of AI means that it's creating so much value for society and for businesses that creates the resources to keep on powering this engine. And the fundamentals of AI is that it's very valuable, which makes me confident it is not just hype. Now, it is possible that subsets of AI will get overhyped and there'll be little disappointments, but because it's so valuable today, I think we're in the eternal spring era. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, Ian.
I mean, I agree to some extent. I think AI has having its moment a little bit, but the only thing is that there's some AI companies that are valued too higher than what it should be. So
do you want to name them by name?
No, we've been debating about this in the car all the time, but I think there are some sectors, exactly what you said, subsectors of AI companies that are overvalued right now. So that's actually creating some delusion that, I'm an AI company, I can be valued 10 times more than regular SaaS company because I'm an AI company. But basically, I agree, this could be the eternal spring for the AI to some extent.
All right, so following that, I also have a question because there could be some spring of AI, but like on your lecture, you just mentioned that generative AI is exploding right now, but it's still relatively very small to the supervised learning vision AI market. So why do you think that way? Because like there's whole world is like bombarding with generative AI stuff, and people saying that this is new big thing after the AlphaGo thing happened. So many people think that this is even gonna be larger than current level of supervised learning. But in your slides, it's still relatively very small. Why do you think that way?
Yeah, so, in 10 years, will it be bigger than supervised learning? I don't know. But I think in the short term, it takes a lot of work to work with concrete use cases. There is one major limitation of generative AI, at least today in the near-term technology, which is that for the most part, it only works on what's called unstructured data, meaning text, images, maybe audio. And the reason is today's generative AI algorithms are built by training very large neural networks, called a transformer neural network, on huge amounts of text or maybe images or maybe audio found on the internet. And the thing is, text on the internet, if you learn a lot from text on the internet, that's actually pretty useful for processing your own text or text documents in your corporation. Or if you learn from a lot of images on the internet, images in a small number of standard formats. So learn from GIFs, JPEGs, PNG files on the internet. That turns out to be pretty useful for processing your own, GIFs, JPEG, and PNG files. But it turns out that most of the world's data is not unstructured data, it's actually structured data, meaning tables of numbers. And it turns out that if you learn from some tables of numbers, say I may have an AI system, find some data on the internet about shipping fuel efficiency or ad click-through rate. If you learn from those types of tables of data, and then you use the AI inside your own company, your company has totally different tables of numbers on maybe some sort of website visitation revisit rate or something. And so the current wave of generative AI algorithms, it works great on text, images, and audio because learning from huge data sets on the internet generalizes other types of text, images, and audio. But structured data is so diverse, so heterogeneous, we've not yet figured out, and it seems quite difficult right now to get these algorithms to work on structured tabular data, which is why supervised learning still, is often the preferred choice of algorithm for those. Having said that, text is huge, so I think it's wildly exciting, but it's also not everything.
I see. So, what do you think there should be done to increase the market size of the generative AI even more from the current stage?
I think it's still early phases. I think a lot of the exciting work that remains to be done ahead of us is to take generative AI and to identify and build the concrete use cases. We've been doing this for 10, 15 years of supervised learning, and we're still not yet done. Today in generative AI, I can share with you what seems to be the two most commonly requested applications for the big corporations. They are customer service chatbot, but this needs to be customized to different companies. And then the other application that's most commonly requested is a question answering bot to answer questions using a collection of documents. So these seem to be the two most requested applications, and I see a lot of companies building these two, one of these or both of these two applications right now. But beyond these two, there's also a lot of other new and exciting applications. And there's also new and exciting cutting edge technology. Just a few days ago, Meta Facebook released Llama 2. People are doing research on agents framework. These are AI that can decide by itself what to do next. I think tool-use with AI, GPT-4 released a tool-use API where large language model can decide, I don't know how to do this thing, I'm going to call a software subroutine to use a tool. And then also, I think what we've seen with the text revolution, it is coming to computer vision. Text transformers work well. This technology called vision transformers that isn't very widely known outside academia, but it's really taking off. So I feel like working on concrete use cases as well as all of these technical innovations, I think that will open up the pipeline to really continue to grow what we can do with generative AI for a long time. I'm curious, Alice, you do research on this. Do you want to share your perspective on this too?
She wasn't prepared for this. Go ahead, Alice.
Yeah, I mean, I also think that generative AI, it's been around for a few years, but if you look at the AI textbooks from, I don't know, like 10 years ago, the term generative AI wasn't even there. It was like supervised learning and unsupervised learning and reinforcement learning. And so this, I think, relative to the amount of time that we've been looking at this, I think it's actually growing really fast. So it's actually, to me, it seems like it's not really a good question to ask, like, how do we get generative AI to grow even farther? I think it's just going to do that automatically. It's just, we just haven't had enough time with it yet. But I see it like growing really fast, and it'll probably, my prediction is it's going to overtake even maybe supervised learning.
Right. Then continue for your next question.
Yeah. So I'm going to switch gears. So you talked about ethics and social impact, which I appreciate you touching on that, even though I think you may have run out of time. But when we talk about some potentially negative social impact, I think we can talk about this problem of AI divide, right? So regions or countries or even groups within a country, groups of people I think they are going to fall behind because they don't have access to the technology, the infrastructure, the data, whatever it is, to actually make the progress that we are making with technologies like ChatGPT. And you do talk about in your one of your letters this problem of resource curse and how that is related to some of these really serious problems like like equity and right. So I think the combination of actually this AI divide thing, certain groups of people falling behind because they don't have access to technology, and then this problem of resource curse where the government does actually not allow people to express themselves and things like that. So what do you think about this problem of AI divide, and is there a solution? And I know it's a really serious, big problem, so we can't really have an easy solution, but I just wanted to see what your thoughts are.
Yeah, wow, those are really deep questions. So I think the AI divide, what I'm seeing is that we still have like a couple billion people on the planet without good internet access, and I think that's a huge problem. If you don't have internet access, there's a lot of modern technologies that you just can't access. So I hope that I see governments slowly making progress on that. And then what I see is that so long as you do have internet access, good broadband access, the divide, while still there, seems to be shrinking. So today, everyone has access, right, pretty much to ChatGPT and Bard if you do have broadband internet access. If you don't, then that's a huge problem. And so I feel like getting everyone online, that's an acute problem we have to work on. But once you have internet access, there's enough stuff that's free. Unfortunately, maybe not necessarily in the language that someone speaks. So the fact that many systems work better in very high resource languages like English, I think that's also a problem. But at least I think that gap is shrinking if you have internet access. And then about the resource curse, is this observation that I think the World Bank has released a statement pointing out that some of the worst human rights violations or some of the least democratic nations, sorry, I'm misquoting this, but if you look at a country with rich natural resources, like minerals or oil, compared to otherwise similarly situated companies, similarly situated countries, the resource-rich country can sometimes end up much less democratic and with worse human rights records. And the reason is, if say there's a dictator of a oil-rich country, they don't need to care about people. You can hire a foreign power to extract the oil. The foreign power pays the dictator's forces to keep him in power, and so there's actually less of an incentive to make sure people is well taken care of. And this is a really tragic effect that some of the most natural resource-rich countries are actually some of the worst records of democracy and human rights. So I was, after the hype about AI extinction risk, which I really don't get, I just don't see AI creating extinction risk, I was trying to think through what are the real risks of AI and my own sincere, what's the worst dystopian scenario that I see? There's one thing I worry a little bit about, which is if AI automation means that people are no longer important for production, like it is already in natural resource-rich countries, then there could be less of an incentive for governments or for corporations maybe to take care of people. And I was worried if this leads to a fraying, a reduction of democratic norms in different countries. This is why I feel like, especially in democratic nations, having people be knowledgeable about AI so that we can move together as a society with an educated population that can vote, they can together decide how do we build a richer society that's richer for everyone, rather than just have high concentration of power where a few dictators don't need to care about human welfare anymore. I feel like having really all people around the world, especially democracies, figure out how to build that brighter future together seems important.
Right, so maybe I wasn't explicit about this, but I think I was referring to that potential intersectionality where you have those natural resource-rich countries with human rights problems, and then people with somehow less access to even education about AI for some reason. And I don't totally agree with you on the point that the divide seems to be shrinking. I think it may actually be either staying the same or even enlarging because of this language issue with English being such a big proportion of NLP research. And you do have languages like Korean where we are actually doing quite well, but then a lot of the languages are actually not, there's nothing there at all. And even if you do things like machine translation, a lot of the content doesn't really translate well to those, to meet the demands of those populations, like whatever their culture is or history. And so that combination of people falling behind or not having access to AI because the resources are not there, and then their already existing problems, I think, may actually exacerbate the problem even more. So that was what was trying.
I hope we can all work on it. I think it is a problem. I do believe the world is getting better. So occasionally, Bill Gates releases reports showing that child mortality, maternal mortality, childhood mortality is down. You're much less likely now to die in a violent war than ever before. I don't know if the Russian invasion of Ukraine changed that materially, but statistically, people die much less from infectious diseases, less likely to die from violence. Rights for all genders are improving around the world. So I feel like the world feels like it's getting safer from the aggregate statistics. But of course, I also agree that there are pockets of the world, maybe very large pockets, where human rights and equality are still major issues, and we should absolutely obsess with them and see what we could do to play our part and make it better.